Hello and welcome to the Rainy Night Listens podcast. I'm Hailey.
And I'm Wyatt, and this is the podcast that you save for a rainy night instead of a rainy day.
Alrighty. Today we are going to be talking about the Watcher of Westfield, New Jersey. Have you ever heard of this case before?
No, I wouldn't have even known it was a case. It's literally the type of name that could be like a cryptid, which is still par for the course.
That's fair. It kind of does have a cryptid vibe.
Like I didn't even know what it was. Once I heard the name, I couldn't figure out what it was.
Well, spoiler alert.
It's not a cryptid.
Much like cryptids, people argue whether or not the Watcher was a real person or not. So, I mean, it kind of
Oh,
does fall into the cryptid realm.
weird. Was this like Mothman or something where it's like, was he there? Or was he not there?
Yeah, was it a hoax? Was it real?
Hmm. All right. I'm ready for this.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I had never heard of this before either until Hagen and I were trying to find a new TV show to watch, and we found The Watcher on Netflix. And after watching it, it said loosely based on true events. And we were like, what the crap? And so I looked it up and I knew that it was one that we definitely needed to cover because of how crazy it is.
Gotcha. Was the show good?
Yeah, I liked it.
Mm.
So would recommend. It's pretty weird.
All right.
But with that, we'll get into it. In 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus were looking to move back to Maria's hometown of Westfield, New Jersey. They searched and eventually put in a $1.3 million offer on a beautiful home located at 657 Boulevard. The home was built in 1905 and was located in a very well off neighborhood. It had 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and was 3,800 square feet on a little less than half an acre of land. So this house is gigantic.
Yeah, this is a huge house.
Here's the house.
Oh, it's a nice house.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. They soon received the acceptance letter, and they quickly began renovating the new home so that it would be perfect for them and their 3 children, who at this point were ages 5, 8, and 10. One day, not long after they began renovations, they found a letter in their mailbox with no return address that was written to the new owners. They opened the letter, and here is what it said. So I am going to preface this with I couldn't find anywhere that the full letters have been released. And so these letters are kind of pieced together from different websites that have like different parts of them that
Portions
they've
of it.
grabbed. So yeah, so just bear
Okay.
with me on that. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Let the party begin. The Watcher.
That's terrifying. What
Absolutely
the?
insane,
What even?
right?
What even?
And so each of the letters are written, like, typed up,
Uh-huh.
but on the envelopes it's handwritten on the fronts
It's
of it.
insane.
But isn't that crazy?
This dude, I feel like just, hey, maybe get a hold of the nearby psych ward and see if they had like an escapee or
Yeah,
something. Like, that's
for real.
insane.
Call the realtor and be like, hey, what the frick?
Hey, what is happening right now?
Upon finishing the letter, Derek and Maria locked up the house and contacted the police, as one would.
Mm-hmm.
A police officer showed up and read the letter, and after this, the Broadduses were instructed to assume that the house was in fact being watched, because it could be anyone, including their new neighbors. It was suspected that maybe someone who had put in an offer on the house and lost was retaliating for it.
Yeah.
Derek and Maria emailed the couple that they had purchased the home from, asking if they had ever received any strange letters like that. The previous owners wrote back and said that in the entire time that they had lived in the house, which was about 2 decades, they had never received a letter until right before they moved out. But it was just weird enough that they just ended up throwing it away and disregarded it, just not thinking anything of it.
Huh.
The Broaddus family did their best to continue like normal and actually attended a neighborhood barbecue with their children that was put on to welcome them. Many of the neighbors were friendly and warmly greeted them and welcomed them, but some were very standoffish and were not welcoming.
Hmm.
One family in particular stood out amongst the group, and we will get into them in a little bit more detail later. I'm not going to name them because they have been looked into by the police and have been cleared, but they were still the main family that they were wondering if maybe they were behind the letters.
Yeah.
But a couple of weeks went by after the barbecue, and renovations continued on the interior of the home. Maria stopped by to check in on how they were going and to admire the new paint that had been put on the walls. And after looking at everything, she stopped by the mailbox, and there she found a second letter. But before we find out what the second letter says,
How dare you?
it is time for Hagen's historical word of the day. Hagen, 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 Hagen.
American.
Ooh, that's a big one.
American. You heard it here first, folks.
Get it here first. We're nearing the end of the words.
Yes, you are almost to the end of Hagen's secret message he's been sending for the
Yes.
last year of these
The
episodes.
last full year. He keeps breaking into his own house and saying the words.
It's horrifying.
It's a whole thing every time. You just can't see it from here.
Here's one of the letters. And so that's the actual handwriting of the person who was sending these letters to the family. They saw that it was postmarked from Kearney, New Jersey, which I guess isn't super far away from Westfield, but they couldn't really track it beyond that.
Mm-mm.
Part of this letter included details about the family moving belongings into the home, mentioned the dumpster that they had put outside, and claimed to be learning each family member's routine when they would stop by the house.
Oh my gosh.
It also listed each of the 3 children's names in order from oldest to youngest, and mentioned their nicknames they each had.
So it had to have been someone at the barbecue.
Maybe.
I hate that. I hate that a lot.
Yeah. In addition to all of this, it also asked about one of the children who was using an easel inside of an enclosed porch.
Using a what?
An easel, so like the little art easel.
Oh.
And so if you look back at the house, there's an enclosed porch on, like if you're looking at the house on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
It mentioned their child using an easel inside of that room.
I hate that.
Yeah. I would be so livid.
Yeah, I would be so unbelievably mad
Yeah.
about this.
Here is what the remainder of the letter said. All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher and have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. I am pleased to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. You certainly know their name or say their names often. 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history. It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard, when I ran from room to room imagining the life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father, but he kept watching until the day he died, and now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. The Watcher.
I hate
So
that.
super threatening.
Yeah. It sounds like the dude's like frogging in their house.
Right? That's kind of the vibe it gives off.
Just living in their attic or something. They're not.
Yeah.
I hate that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
After... Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, well, he made it obvious that he lived in the house or was in the house. I feel like they could have used it to like track him, couldn't they? Like what families lived in the
So,
house previous.
that's what he claims, but investigators had looked into the previous owners and the people who had owned it prior to that, and all of them were cleared of being the Watcher.
Well, it doesn't mean he had to have lived there. I mean, he could have been like a family friend who like
That's
stayed
true.
over or something. I
Yeah,
don't know. Weird.
it is super weird. After receiving this deeply personal and threatening letter, the Broadduses stopped bringing their children to the home altogether.
Hmm.
They also began having issues with continuing the renovations as they didn't even know if they wanted to move into the house at all. Multiple weeks went by after this, and the Broadduses received a third letter, which read, I will be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood to me. Come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone. The Watcher.
That makes no sense, dude.
Yeah. By this point, the Broaddus family had hired a private investigator to look into the letters in an attempt to discover who was behind them. So now we'll jump back to the family that we had mentioned earlier at the barbecue. That family had actually moved into the neighborhood in the 60s, and so it kind of fell in line
Yeah.
with what the Watcher was saying. And they were located next door. The enclosed porch where one of the children was using the easel was also viewable from this home.
Hmm.
In addition to that, the private investigator and an FBI analyst believed the writing style of the letters felt dated, as though they were being written by someone who was much older. Which, even if you look at this, like the
Yeah.
letter, I older people's handwriting gets more kind of shaky as
Yeah.
they age. And then they pointed out like the M-M Braddis,
Yeah.
which they spelled their name wrong on it, but they pointed out different things like that and why it pointed to it possibly being someone who was older.
Hmm.
The problem with this family being the Watcher, though, was that they had already been interviewed by police, and it was hard to believe that after interviewing someone that they would still continue to send the letters knowing that they were being looked into.
Yeah. Well, like I don't know. In my brain, it's like, what if it's just like a little kid?
Yeah.
I know it's hard to like write off, but like,
But the
I know,
contents of the letter, I
I
feel
know. Yeah, it's a little
like
too.
that kid needs to go to the insane asylum you were
Yeah,
talking about earlier,
yeah.
if that's the case.
I don't know. It's so weird.
It is super weird. The private investigator had uncovered that there were 2 registered sex offenders within the near vicinity of the property. So they looked into them, but weren't able to uncover anything that
Yeah.
led them to believe that they were sending these letters. A man who was working as a painter on the home had told the Broadduses and the police that there was an older gentleman who was sitting in a lawn chair just staring at the house the whole time that he was working. But again, they weren't able to find anything to lead them to believe that this was the person writing the letters. So all of these leads led to dead ends. And the police finally told Derek and Maria that they were running out of options or avenues to look into. So Derek and Maria Broaddus listed their home for sale, and against what their real estate agent told them, they insisted that any interested buyer be made aware of the letters that they had been receiving because they, in good conscience,
Yeah.
couldn't sell to a family knowing that this might continue with that family.
Why not just like? Because I'm like looking and it says that this letter was dated 2014.
Yeah.
Why not just set like a camera in the window?
So they did have like security systems installed and everything, but where it's postmarked like that, it would have just been delivered by the post office. So it's not like someone sneaking up to their house and dropping the letter off.
Oh, it
They're
literally
actually
went
dropping it
through
in the mailbox.
postage. Oh,
Yeah. So they just don't have the return address or anything, but there's nothing on the outside of the envelope
that
that
is
would lead
crazy.
someone to believe that there was something nefarious going on.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So, because they made all potential buyers aware of the letters, all of them backed out. So, they weren't able to sell the home.
Yeah.
In 2016, they held an open house and used the visitor log to compare handwriting to the letters that they had received, but nothing came back as being similar enough to definitively point to anyone who would come. After being unsuccessful in selling the property, they decided to go the route of selling it to a developer who would tear the home down and then split the property into 2 lots. However, this was shot down by the Westfield Planning Board because the 2 lots would not be the proper size that was mandated in that area, so it would have been like too small.
Mm-hmm.
It was also met with backlash from locals who used Facebook groups to lash out and let everyone know how much they despised this plan. And some people within the groups even went so far as to claim the Broadduses were actually faking the whole thing as a ploy to get more money out of the location.
That's crazy.
And so at the meeting when the planning board shot down the idea, hundreds of locals had shown up and were arguing against it, using property values being decreased and neighborhood aesthetics as their reasoning behind not wanting them to move forward with
Mm-hmm.
the developer route. Shortly after this, the family got a renter to agree to move into the property after including a clause in the rental agreement that would allow them to break the lease and move out if another letter showed up. This happened as the 4th letter showed up.
Of course.
The letter talked about the public hearing in detail, and then part of it read, "To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria. You wonder who the Watcher is? Turn around, idiots. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates.
Oh my gosh.
Another part of the letter threatened about what could happen to their family, and it said maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day.
What the heck? This is freaking weird.
Dude,
I don't know what else to say. This is just weird.
it's so insane, right?
It is.
By the time the fourth letter was received, they had sold their old home that they were in, and instead of moving into 657 Boulevard, they had moved in with Maria's parents while still paying the mortgage and utilities on their home that they'd never moved into. One small break in the case came when saliva was discovered on one of the envelopes. But after running it through all of the police databases, it did not match anyone. But they were able to determine that the culprit was likely a female.
How's that?
So whenever they tested the DNA that came from the saliva,
Uh-huh.
it came back as likely being XX chromosomes rather than XY chromosomes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so they were able to determine that it was most likely a female sending these letters, or at least closing the letters that were being written
Yeah.
and mailing them. Many neighbors submitted DNA tests, and all of them came back clear. But there were a couple neighbors who refused to submit DNA tests. But it was never released which neighbors did send them in and which ones didn't. So, who knows? In 2019, another family ended up purchasing the home for $959,000.
Wow, that's a pretty big drop.
Yeah, which resulted in a major monetary loss for the Broaddus family. And this family, as far as anyone knows, has never received any letters.
The new family never received it.
Mm-hmm.
That's messed up, dog.
So today, it is still not known who was writing and sending the letters to the Broaddus family.
What the heck? Dude just decided, Dudette decided to just
Dudette.
decided to just get a hold of the one family, and that was it.
Yeah. And so that's part of the reason why, like,
People think they're
There's a-
making it up.
yeah, there is a group of people, because there was like a theory going around that once they purchased it, they realized it was more house than they could afford, so they were trying to get out from under it. But it's been disproven because they were actively paying all of the bills on time, and they weren't having any issue. Like, they were able to pay all of the bills. They were able to be paying for the renovations happening
Mm-hmm.
as they were coming up, and so that theory has kind of been debunked because money was clearly not really an issue for them, because they were still paying for this
Everything.
giant house
Yeah.
that they weren't living in. And so who knows?
That's so crazy. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, people do things because they're bored, but it's a crazy thing to do because you're bored.
Yeah. That's I feel like I don't even have like a theory on who I think it was.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's so vague that it could have been, like, even like you were saying, it could have been someone who played with the neighbor kids when they, which is kind of funny because in the TV show, that is like a character that they bring in as someone who was friends with the kids who lived in the houses.
Uh-huh.
But like, it could be as broad as something as that.
Yeah.
And so,
It's so weird.
yeah. And so the case is, it's not really active, but it's not closed.
Mm.
But it's because there's not anything else that they can
Yeah, they
really
have the
do.
information they have, but there's no more information coming up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's
Just-
so insane.
Just, hey, Saw you moved into this house. I know this house.
Hey, I'm gonna threaten your whole family for some
I'm
reason.
gonna steal your kids.
Yeah, like it's
It
horrifying.
is. Uh-uh. I don't, I don't like it.
Yeah, but that's all that I've got.
Uh,
So, definitely let us know what your guys' thoughts are because we are very interested to hear about them.
yeah, this one, yeah, please. I don't have a direction to go on this one. It's just weird.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all we've got. So, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.